Hey Thomas, how are you?
Hey, Alex, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I'm coming down for Matt because he is taking his wife out to dinner. So
Yes, I saw the email from him. Sorry I didn't have a chance to get down to the office today.
fine, don't worry about
Just a heads up, my internet's been a little bit spotty, and it was on Monday night as well. I got kicked off a few times there at the end of the
it.
planning commission meeting. If it starts happening again, I'm just going to call in. But if I happen to miss anything, uh, a vote or anything like that, feel free to call roll for that sort of thing.
Sure, I can definitely do that. And
Thank you very much.
I'll take notes as well. Anything to Matt walk me through it, but do you think they'll go through all 3 sets of minutes or just one or?
I don't know. This was all kind of last minute. They might decide to do none of them. They might just kind of take a cursory glance at all of them and move through. That is usually just kind of a quick motion, and they can do it by consent, so that just a quick voice vote.
Yep.
The only things that might come to a roll vote are, I guess, the COAs. Sometimes they do that. Zach's a little bit kind of back and forth on how he likes to do these. Sometimes he, takes motions to adopt the agenda and to adjourn the meeting. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he takes a roll vote to pass a COA. Sometimes they just do it by consent.
Okay.
So just kind of, let him, he'll ask for whatever he needs. And again, I'm really expecting that between the internet that seems to be working okay at the moment and the phone that's right in front of me, I shouldn't miss much.
Totally understand. That's perfect. So. Great. Can you see that second screen okay?
Yeah, that looks great.
Great, thank you.
Did you just have to drive down through that rain?
No. I was here. I was here today most of the day. I just came a little bit later in the afternoon, so I'm glad I'm actually at this meeting, so I don't have to deal with the rain.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it all blows by the time you have to head up.
Did they have? I'm just curious. Did they have a tornado touchdown?
No, where?
No. I saw that we had a UVA tornado warning. I didn't.
Oh.
I was hoping that nothing touched down. So.
No, I hadn't heard of anything. Probably just from the storms moving through. I was looking at the radar, and there was a big red dot on the Doppler moving just north of Charlottesville.
Yeah, it was a pretty big dot. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hey.
Hello.
Hi there.
Again, I was just telling Thomas, I'm Alex. Met a few of you in person. I'm the intern from UVA. So he is taking his wife out for her birthday this evening. So I will try to get us going on the right foot as best I can. So.
Oh, sounds good.
Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Barbara Wilkinson.
Barbara, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, I might have you introduce yourself again once everybody's here.
Of course, that's fine, Zach.
Are you going to relay notes to Matt then?
Yes, I will.
And I'm taking minutes still for the meeting as usual. So I'll catch up. I'll be in the office tomorrow, and we'll
great.
have a debrief.
Sounds good. How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you, Zach?
Well, doing pretty good. Enjoyed the rain this afternoon. That was refreshing.
Yes, and necessary.
And very necessary. It's been good to get some rain.
Yep.
Good to get some rain.
I'm okay with missing the 3 to 6 inches or whatever they were calling for on Tuesday.
Yeah, we didn't get any of that really.
No, it was a beautiful day.
It was good on missing the tornado.
Right.
Absolutely.
Dad, are you calling in, or is your?
No, I have video. Yeah.
Okay, my internet's been a little spotty, and I was wondering if you guys were having the same problem.
Hey, how are you, sir? I'm good. Let me go grab my mask, if that's all right. I've got your plans right up here, sir. So, yep. Just give me 1 second. I'll get my mask up.
have to ask what that incredible backdrop is for the Unsworths.
Yeah.
What
Uh,
a thing.
Oh my goodness, what what have you done, dear?
it's not Mount Olympus. It's a volcano outside of Antigua, Guatemala,
Oh,
where our daughter lives and works, and I believe that is our son-in-law waving to us from the site.
oh, fun,
Cool.
fun.
And then, just so you're aware, sir, so whenever, it's your time to present, I've got it up on the screen, and then also I'll put the camera there as well if you need anything. So the plans are there as well as the COA. So. All right, Zach, just letting you know, Mr. Mike Passley just arrived for the 190, so he's here with me in person. So.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Oh, he's with you in person.
Yes. So.
Good deal.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
And
There's Aaron. Hello, Aaron.
Aaron and Tyler are here. Has anybody heard from Bob?
I've not.
Okay, I have not heard anything from him today either. But you have a quorum whenever you want to get going.
Well, it is 7:02, so let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here for the August meeting of the Scottsville Architectural Review Board, virtual edition, or rather distanced edition. No one here is virtual. Everyone's very real. We're just far apart. So today we have a couple applicants with us, both returning customers. We have the Unsworths and Mike Passarell, both dealing with construction. So I think there's a lot for us to think about tonight. If you have the guidelines for new construction and renovation handy, that would be helpful, I think, for us to reference as we go forward. And I'm just listening to the train. And just as a comment to the ARB, remember that if you feel like we need more time to deliberate something or think something over, we can do that. So don't feel like you've got to come up with a decision tonight. If we do come up with a decision tonight, wonderful, but I don't want anyone to feel like we've got to be pressured to do something, particularly if we think it's going to take a little more deliberation. So sound good?
right.
Okay, great. So we've got we've got a quorum. Do I hear a motion to agree to the agenda?
If I could just add to it, I see that the agenda you guys have in front of you just has the July on it. I sent you this morning minutes from March and June. Sorry for last minute. Feel free to add any or all of those that you guys are ready to adopt, or we can get them next month.
Yeah, I'd like to add them all. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then we've all got the minutes in our email. Thomas sent them out. So we'll take a moment here. I'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes. I've read them.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounded like an enthusiastic eye from everyone. Great. All right. Let's keep moving. Where's my agenda? I already lose my agenda? Thomas, can you bring the agenda back up on the screen? I seem to have lost it on.
That's Alex who's got the screen share. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Alex.
Got it, Zach. Here you go.
Okay. So the Unsworth, 280 Burge Street. The last time you were with us, we were discussing the renovation on the property. And so I guess we're looking for an update today. And it looks like we have some more detailed images and plans. So talk us through what you have here.
So I have one update from last time. Last time we were asked to investigate the possibility of doing wood windows in the renovation of the downstairs sun porch, which has those crank windows you see now. We did look into that. It was only 10% more expensive, so that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
on this time around, what we're bringing you has to do with the driveway and the garage door, the carriage house door. And I think Matt sent around a PDF with pictures of what the driveway is now, which, as far as we can tell, was once macadam and then probably tar with some crushed stone. We're gonna do tar with crushed stone, and we have an arrangement with the paver, and down at the bottom of this document is an example of that paver's work with the same materials on a different job. Yeah, so that's the surface that we're talking about. Seems a little lurid in this photo, but it's understated.
We think it'll go well with the color of the brick.
Right.
I don't think the color is quite right here, but you get the idea of the nature of the material. And then up a little bit from this, in the document right there, is the best image I could procure of the kind of garage door that we're going to ask Blue Ridge Garage Doors to build for this. It'll be a custom garage door. It will be an overhead door. So right now there are 2 doors that open out into the street. To make this actually usable as a building, we would like to put in an overhead garage door. But if you look up at the picture of the carriage house here, you can see there's an arched top over the door.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep that in the original materials, and we'll replace the square portion basically below that. It's hard to see from this picture, but when you open the doors, you're opening doors that are squared off at the top. They're not opening that whole archway.
Right.
So we're going to leave that part at the top, have garage doors built to match the design of the exterior, which is very simple. I don't think we will be trying to fake that hardware, but it will be a door that will roll up overhead and behind that arched piece. So it's a little hard to see sideways and a little difficult to imagine, but it'll all be painted to match, and the exterior will be wood, and we'll try to make it look as much as possible like something that belonged there. Rehabilitating this building is going to be a major undertaking.
Yeah.
And I say, whenever it rains, it's got lots of standing water and stuff. So,
Yeah.
But we do want to make it usable.
Will the wood be stained like it is currently, or will it be another color?
No, I think we're not contemplating changing the external paint scheme of the house. This is the same color as the shutters, and so
It's all pretty fresh paint, and I don't care for the dark brown myself, but the paint is all in good shape. So we'll just put that lower down on our priorities list and get to a different color for all of that later on.
we'll come back to you when that might happen.
Yep. But we'll let it get a little more wear and tear in it first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Understood.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
I think the driveway material is appropriate.
I'm
And it-
happy to hear about the windows going to wood. I think that's wonderful. I'm glad that the cost wasn't prohibitive, even though we're not supposed to really weigh in on that. And I agree with Aaron. I think the driveway material is I think it's reminiscent of what one of the Harrison properties has. Jeffrey Plank's driveway, I believe, is out of this, and it's very attractive. I think it's very appropriate.
Yeah, we liked it too.
Great. Yeah, I feel comfortable then moving forward with making the COA official. Mr. Stolniker, what do you have the COA there in front of you? I want to know what's all on it.
Yes, give me 1 second and I should be able to pull it up. That's it. This is COA overview. Zach, I don't have it right in front of me. I can go pull it out of the file cabinet if you'd like. It's you just might have to give me a minute, but
I think it would just be good to have a summary. Perhaps the Unsworths can even share it with us, because we've got the windows, we've got the door on the garage now in the carriage house, we've got the driveway, and then I feel like there's another piece on the home itself. Is
Yes,
there a
there
door?
was. There's a deck, and also there was, we're going to take off the aluminum siding and put on shingle.
Right.
Right. Okay.
I apologize, Zach. I just found it. So this is
Okay. Good.
the COA. So
Yeah. So if we can just recap the COA to make sure everything's on it that we know that should be on it, and then I feel comfortable because we were all in agreement the last time about those other changes. Correct?
Yeah, we were just talking about, kind of
The
coming
windows.
in with a final paint color, or how those shingles were going to be treated, whether they would be painted or stained to blend harmoniously with the brick. Is that what you all remember?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was some discussion around what the door would be.
Oh, with the panes.
Be a divided light, or whether it would be a solid pane.
No, we'd like it to be a solid pane, but with the transom up above,
Okay.
as it was pictured.
All right. So in order to move forward with this particular COA, I'll need a motion from the board about, do we feel like we're ready to move forward with this, or do we need more information regarding the project before we approve?
Excuse me, but I thought you approved the COA last time and we were just adding to it. Or is it a totally separate COA now? I'm sorry if I don't understand the...
That's a good question. That's a good reminder. Did we approve the COA last time?
There's new information relative to the driveway and the garage doors. I don't think it's a separate COA, but there is new information, is there not?
Yes, there is. But I thought when I had talked with Matt, it was just sort of an addendum to the existing COA. The driveway and the garage doors.
Well, I'm in support of what's been presented. Whether it meets the technical threshold of what was submitted in the original COA or not is, a matter for, I guess, Matt and Zach, you to decide. But on the whole, I feel as though they've done their due diligence. I'm positive about the recommendations that have been made. So I would move to accept this, pending whatever other technical considerations there are with regard to the process. And so I would defer to you, Zach, and to Matt.
I second that.
All right, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, sounds good. Then I will sign this at some point soon. And thank you for all of your work on this, and we'll stay in touch as you all move forward.
Great. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thanks,
It
everybody.
looks
Thank you so much.
wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Mr. Passerell. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
great. So pulled up in front here is the 190, the COA permit for Mr. Passerell. So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over so you can see his plans and everything else that he has available. So let me get the mic to him so that you guys can hear him loud and clear. Okay.
Cool.
Great. Here you go, sir.
Yeah, like I said, I appreciate everybody's input on this. This is a lot that we bought. We've been talking to the town of Scottsville for about a year and a half on. It was a lot that there was a house about 50 years ago that was there. The lot was covered in food, and we've been cleaning it up, getting it ready, and wanting to build our next dream home there. And we came to the last meeting and brought some plans, and we heard your comments, and we took all the comments that you guys made and tried to pick a set of house plans that would kind of appease what we were told. I know that Mrs. Wilkinson suggested we do more of a board and batten, and she showed us something from Birdwood. I know that Aaron Root told us that she didn't like the last set of plans we did because it had a deck on the side closest to Scottsville, and it had triangle windows. So we went with just, it's a really narrow lot. So we found something that was 36 feet wide, 41 feet long. We're gonna do all white board and batten siding with black asphalt shingles. And it's a pretty basic house. We've taken out the fireplace. Last time they said it in the fireplace. We took out, last time they made comments about not having a separate garage. We've taken that out. So we've just picked an 1,800 square foot house that'll sit up on top of that lot. It's outside of you can't see it from downtown Scottsville. It's on the outside section. It's in Fluvanna County. We presented the set of plans.
Gosh, sorry. Apologies. Maybe if I just mute myself.
So yeah, so we're just hoping to turn these plans in. We have a house in Scottsville, a living house in Scottsville for the last 20 years. We put our house on the market. It sold in one day.
Wow.
And now we have a builder, we have plans, and we're hoping that we can get this approved so we can start building this house up there.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that presentation. I've got your plans here. I'll open it up to discussion from the board and any questions that folks still have.
Well, I'll weigh in right away. I think it's a very fresh twist on a Virginia farmhouse vernacular, Mr. Passarell. And personally, I think it looks great. I think you did a wonderful job. The architect did a great job. And I'm just a designer. But from my perspective, I think it blends so harmoniously. And when it comes to a certificate of appropriateness, I think it's very appropriate. So thank you for the work that you've done. And that's my perspective. I had a good time looking at it, looking at the visuals, looking at the design, and I was very positively impressed.
Thank you. Like I said, I took a lot of the comments, and like I said, last time when we came here, we wanted to get comments from you so we wouldn't have to go through this process over and over again.
Okay.
We wouldn't spend a lot of money on going through architects and stuff. So we took all of your recommendations, and we kind of took it for this, and hoping this kind of fit into all the criteria that we looked at.
And I hope that you actually really like it and are excited about it and didn't have to worry just about trying to fit it into all of our comments, because of course you have to love it at the end of the day.
We really do. And like I said, I mean, it's just, to us, it's a special place. I mean, we feel like the views that we have, looking over the river, and again, just cleaning up that area. I mean, I think it was just something that I think Mrs. Wilkinson will attest to. I think she drives that road all the time or something on that we took a piece of property. We haven't cleaned it up 100%. We've been working really hard. The neighbors have been thrilled about what we've done and how we've cleaned it up. And there's not much room up there, so we're hoping just to do something simple and basic, and we're happy with it. I mean, 1,800 square feet, not very big. We don't have any other garages or side buildings. We're trying to keep it as simple and basic, just going white board and batten and black, and just trying to make it simple and basic, but also kind of show maybe, like you said, keeping in with the traditions, but also saying this is 2020 and
Exactly.
in 2020.
Yeah, I second. I think it's very fitting. I can, even with these visuals, picture it up on that kind of hillside and think it'll look very nice. Are you with the doors and windows? Are you proposing the black as well? Is that something you're going to mimic?
Yes, we'd like to. We wanted to really kind of just keep it simple. We didn't want to put any.
I mean, for new construction, I think it's, appropriate. I've certainly seen a lot of, homes that have spent a tremendous amount of money on architects and such. And I do think it fits with the time. And while it will be, if not the only one of two or something like that in Scottsville, I think it's certainly fine from my perspective to go with the black doors and windows on the house.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really lovely, simple design. And I appreciate the material palette, the color palette. I appreciate the windows that you chose. I think they're very much in line with sort of, being inspired by a older farmhouse, but a modernized version, and not applied forcefully, but really, really, I think it's designed well. I'd like to clarify about the porch. I think it's not that I didn't like it. It's more that I thought it would be really hot and not necessarily in line with the designs of homes in the area. And I think it's going to be really great for you all to have a screen porch.
Yeah, again, that was a great recommendation. When we started looking back and seeing the way that the property went, that would keep us away from kind of the side. And then we could put something out towards the back that would be just simpler and would kind of walk out into that back area and kind of keep us away from that hillside a little bit more. So yeah, I think it was a great recommendation. And again, I think we just wanted to kind of take everything. And again, I was so happy we came here and presented. We kind of took the wildest house that we could think of, so you guys could look at it and say, don't do this, don't do that. And then we kind of made up these plans like that. And again, I think it was very helpful. And I'm hoping that we did it, that everybody's going to be happy, because I know that we're going to be happy.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I appreciate all of your work and for coming in and speaking with us. It's sort of how this process goes best, we've found. So I'm pleased too, and I appreciate everyone's comments and your thoughtfulness, Mr. Passarella. You got a great lot. I was on the river the other day, and I was like, oh, nice view. I was like, I think that's where they're gonna be. Slick. So good on you. So it sounds like, but in any event, we need a motion here to approve this COA.
I move to approve the COA as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Nada. All right. Congratulations, Mr. Passarella. Thanks for
again, anything
work with us. And, welcome to town.
Great. Well, great. Thank you very much. And again, that we're still willing to work. If you guys see anything that we're not doing right, again, please tell us, and we'll make sure that we get it taken care of.
Great. When do you plan to break ground?
We've already, like I said, it's been a kind of a process we've done. We've already talked to the Albemarle County which is nice, is there was a house there before, so there's already water and septic that's already set up there. So we've already had that approved. We've been talking to Savannah County as far as the permits, and we've kind of gotten that all approved. We've already had the land disturbance permits. We've already had VDOT. We already have a 911 address. So, I mean, really, hopefully, thank you for approving it. So we're hoping within a short time to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, make sure we close on our house. Our house closing goes through and we get a check for our house.
Yeah, that helps.
So we can start on there too. But again, the neighbors have just been really great and really nice. And again, if we can help out, I know that kudzu is a huge problem. I know that's, we've been trying to manage that and stuff on there, but I think the neighbors have been happy that we've been trying to clean up. And again, I hope the town kind of appreciates that too, but we'll keep on working with that. But yeah, hopefully within the next couple of months, we'd love to be able to start and break ground.
Great.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, great. Thank you guys so much. Do you want the plans or anything? Yes, you already got them.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. If you need anything, just hit us up. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. It looks like our remaining agenda item is a review of poor condition properties from our inventory this fall, or rather last fall. This is a nice little document here. So I think what we should do is just go through, Mr. Stoliker, if you just want to walk us through the ones that have changed and just explain those, and then we can address what we want to do with the ones that have not yet made progress.
Sure. So if you look on the screen share, the document to your right, I'll forward this out to you all after this meeting. I went through and updated kind of where we're at with certain properties and who is behind and who is not. So to go ahead and follow your.
Hey, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Have you, I know one meeting, maybe it's been 9 months or a year ago, we had discussed putting the inventory into Excel rather than a Word document.
Yeah.
So then we could track, you almost just create a very dummy database so that then we could track time periods in columns or tabs, however you wanted to do it. But I don't want to get it. I do not want to get too far ahead of ourselves because I think it's very relevant that something would be nice to do. And this work you've done here is obviously light years above anything else we've had to date that I'm aware of. So thank you for that. But I was just wondering, would it be possible to transfer what we have here before we get too much information into Excel to make it a bit more user-friendly?
Mr. Tyler, absolutely. Can you just kind of give me a brief what you'd like some of the columns to be, and I can whip that up probably in the next couple days. No worries.
Yeah. Obviously, I think one would be address. Two would be probably current status with date. So however you wanted to do that. Help me here, team.
That's a great start, Tyler. It's a great start.
But I think it can almost be as simple as that. Like,
Sure.
it actually may be interesting. It almost, and I don't know if this is overkill, but it might be interesting to even see who was which ARB members were the last reviewers of the property.
Yeah. So what you should take a look at is the inventory from this year, which again is just a Word document, and it has the only additional piece. It has who reviewed the property, which I think is important, and then notes, right? The relevant notes about what was seen. And so I think if that's really it, those are the four components, and then it's organized by street, right? So sort of as this is here. And so maybe if each tab was a different street, that would probably be helpful. No, Tyler doesn't like that idea.
I think put it all together.
Okay.
Because then you can add tabs for every new year.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I was even thinking just you could have columns for every year or something like that, just to keep it even more simple. But
Right.
I agree. You could do tabs for years, but I think the fewer tabs in the fewer workbooks, the better.
Yeah, because ultimately we just need
someone who sits in front of Excel all day long.
Yeah, and what we need ultimately is sort of a simple comparison. We want to see what's happened to the property over time in sort of a concise way.
Right.
What are your opinions on, so I've spent all day working on Excel plant spreadsheet, and I've started adding, rather than having images separate in like a separate folder, I've started adding images into the Excel doc, so it's part of all the information. And I think that's helpful, especially for, you know, a historic town, because we can see how these properties have developed over time. I don't know how much detail we can get from them, and I think we should store them somewhere else. But what do you all think of having like a small image of the property at the point that it was, you know,
Last inventoried.
exactly.
I think that's a great idea, because I think that while it would be wonderful to see an address and think that that would conjure up an image without having the visual, I think it's extremely difficult to do that. I think that column would be helpful. I think the first column really needs to be how it was assessed at last inventory. And then the progress, every successive column would say what the new status is. Does that not sort of
Yes. Yep.
show the progression? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we do not need to go back in time. We could either do it with the most recent inventory or set this up for our next inventory.
Agreed.
Right.
And I have the images and the inventory from February, I think, of this year, so I can add that to this as well, like you guys were saying, and have that as, you know, a previous column. So
Right, and it sounds, just to clarify though, the images that we took this year were of problems. And so we don't like necessarily we don't have a picture of every property, and even the ones that we do have are not of like, you know, the full front facade or something. So that might be a task for this year as we go around, is to make sure we have at least one good picture of the front of each building.
that's perfect. I was going to say the pictures that I took in the slideshow, I don't know if Matt sent that to you guys, but I have it on the screen share. It's kind of exactly what you mentioned, Zach. It's like a front picture. I didn't go and necessarily find the problem spot and take that picture, but I do know a document you're talking about that has a lot of the problem areas on there. So,
Okay.
yep, we can combine.
Yeah,
cool.
I think the other thing to add would be, you know, like here we have, it might have been poor, but now it's in compliance. Or, you know, it's in, what is it? Poor, good, fair.
Fair, good, excellent.
So I would say one of the columns should be the date that we noted that it was in compliance, or that it was then rated good.
Okay.
So perhaps like in this document here that we're looking at, there should be a column then that shows improvement or what change, like status. Like if we have the notes about the condition at the inventory, and then another column that has ongoing notes about work, whether it's not started, ongoing, or completed.
Okay.
Yeah, and another column is probably, do the COAs have numbers, like reference numbers on them? Or date COA was approved or something like that? That could be a column.
Yep.
Yeah, that should be a column.
Yeah, we can either
Permit number.
on the screen share, we could go by permit number. That'd probably be the best thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, let's use that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
No,
it's
of
just
course.
an idea.
See your guys' feedback, so I can get you a product that you need.
Thank you so much.
That'll be useful.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Can you get that to us by our September meeting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can take care of it. I'll probably get it to you tomorrow. So
Very cool.
cool.
Very cool.
Friday. Leave at noon.
That sounds good. Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Walk us through what we got here.
Okay. So, and just to reiterate, Zach, do you want me just to go over the ones that just still need work?
No, let's do the ones just so we can see what has happened.
Oh, great.
So where we are, what's improved or ongoing, and then we can go back, because we'll need to talk about then next steps for the ones that have not seen any progress.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start here. I will do Mr. Weeks properties first. 135 Warren Street. I went over yesterday and got a full tour of the back, and I have some photos I took that I will add. I'm sorry, I should have had them on the slideshow tonight. But he has fully made a concrete back pad wall, a retaining wall. It looks very good. It's not out of control or anything like that. He's also created a new foundation as well for the property. He wants to move the property on top of that while he has taken the time to renovate underneath there. He also was talking to me about some logging that he had got for the beams that are down the center of the red house. They're in crozet. He just let me know it's just, it's been pretty hot. So he was explaining to pick those up right now probably isn't the best idea, but the foundation looks really good. He has certified approval from an engineer in Albemarle County for that because I was asking him just to follow up to see if that was approved, and there had been somebody there to check it. So he's coming along with it. It's kind of a one-man show, so he's going a little bit slow, but at the same time, there is some good progress being done.
Did we get a COA for that work?
We do have a COA for that, and that all those items are previously mentioned on the 2019 COA. He's not doing anything that's out of that scope. It's just he's working forward on it. So I would consider that still a work in progress. Okay, if we're ready to move on to his next two properties, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the final two here are 715 and 725 Harrison Street. I got a full tour of these as well, especially for 715. He's already started replacing the back sub paneling and the back of the house itself. If you can see from the picture, this window was completely taken out before. However, it's now boarded up. He's redoing the framing and everything else that's around the outside and the inside of this. He's gutted a lot of the house and is working on fixing most of the fire damage, etc. Again, kind of a slow going process, but he is working to fix that. There's newer paint on the outside and the front for both of these properties. The porch has been repainted on this property here. The white is new. And that's basically it for those two. Again, conditions, it's in compliance. He's still working to finish it, but he's making subtle progress.
Okay. Do we have COAs for that work?
Yes, that COAs as well. Again, none of those things are outside of the scope of the COA. So.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Let's check the next one.
Hey, real quick, what do we have on terms of, do COAs, did we talk about this at one point of like COAs needing to be refreshed? Like if work's not completed within a certain amount of time?
We did. I think it's been the tradition of the ARB that if work is going forward and it's not outside the scope of the COA, that we're good. I don't think we've talked, I don't remember reauthorizing them.
I think on the form itself, there's a place for Matt to check in at 6 months to, get something along the lines of what Alex is walking us through here now. Has there been any progress towards the COA? And then I think again at 12 months to check if the work is complete or not. I think after 12 months, the COA does need reapproval if the project isn't complete.
That's correct.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Do we know where we are?
Revenue.
Yeah. Well, what we should probably do then. Say again? What'd you say, Tyler?
No, just trying to get the town some revenue, $20 at a time.
That's right. Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
No, that's my concern. It's just like, yes, subtle progress is happening, but these things are, nothing's changed.
Well, there's some momentum. I mean, under the circumstances, I have to say, as many times as I've passed the one on Warren, I hadn't realized that the roof had been replaced, et cetera. So it is slow going, but in contrast to the ones where absolutely nothing has been done, I mean, it's encouraging to that extent.
And to comment on that point, Barbara, especially with 135, I saw from some of the pictures you guys had before, I think for February,
Uh-huh.
None of that foundation had been done at all.
Okay, good.
All in the back. So again, you can't see it unless, and I'm not harping on anybody, you just can't really see it unless you go behind and then you see, hey, there actually has been a massive amount of work. Because until he can move that to the new foundation, it, you know, you can't really do anything on the exterior until that base is ready. So.
Mhm.
Well, I felt like activity was so dormant for so long on that one.
Yeah.
I am encouraged to see that it's moving now, you know.
I'll send you those pictures too. So it was like, he was very prideful about it and it looked great. So I was happy that he was making some big headway. So.
Yeah, no, that's exceptional. To Tyler's point, though, I think it would be good to sort of talk about what we do after the year. I think that is reasonable.
Yeah.
Because if that is sort of because we have gotten much better at process on this board over the last couple of years. And I think if we've got that like 12 months check in to see if it's completed, I think we should talk about what to do after that, whether it's a new COA or whatnot. I don't know if we want to do that tonight or if we should keep that on the docket for September. But I'd like to know from you all what you'd like to do. Would you like to make that a September item, or do you want to do that now?
I vote September.
Okay.
And I will make note of that, Zach.
Yeah, thanks.
Other people have to vote.
I concur. Let's make it September. I think Matt also needs to be in on the conversation, since enforcement sort of seems to run from him. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good call.
So Stoliker's taking over. He's like, I'll be out there tomorrow knocking on doors.
I'll start yelling at people. That's fine.
I'm sorry. When I yell at my computer, I don't know how loud I am. So if I yell at my computer and it's too loud, you can tell me to shut up or be quiet because can't regulate the sound of my voice over here.
Perfect. Perfectly loud.
That's just fine.
Too much.
Okay. All right. All right. So the Meeks properties. What's next?
All right. So the next property, let's go to 358, which is 35. Oh, I'm sorry. 215 to 225 South Street. This is Mr. Neighbor's property. As you can see from the photo, there's a ton of work going on. The vandalism on the second and third floor has been removed. And again, you can just see by that photo, there's a lot of massive renovations ongoing, and it looks good. So I haven't had a chance to meet with Mr. Neighbors yet, but once I'm able to talk to him in person, I'd actually like to go see that property because, correct me if I'm wrong, that was like the old, wasn't the old canal storage house, and
That's right.
It seems to be a pretty historic piece of the town. So it looks like it's really moving.
So what are the things so there's the improvement of the vandalism. What were the things that rated it poor that he's changed, that he's updated?
Let's see, I need to find that.
I think it was mainly security, like securing stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think missing windows, but where was the
It was the windows on the third floor from the levee side had been broken very shortly after he had initially replaced them, and very shortly before we did the inventory. And so I think that was the main thing that we got him on was, there being open windows on the south-facing side of the building.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like that's going well, and I think that's it for Mr. Neighbors' projects. His 380 and 39, I think it's 380 to 392 on Valley Street. I think that still needs work according to this documentation. Yes, so this is still out of compliance. So again, I called him this week, just need to meet with them and kind of follow up on that. So, all right, and then 358 should be our next property. Yes, so this is on Valley Street. Mr. Barrett and Mrs. Barrett, the wood trim at the eaves above the gutter, that's been fixed. The vent in the dormer window needs to be removed. I think that's still there. However, I can speak with him about that. But the storefront paint has been replaced, and a lot of the trim paint has been finished as well. So
It looks remarkably better.
Alex, for the record, it wasn't not the visible air conditioning unit on the second floor there that you can see. There's a dormer above the gutter on the roof line up there.
okay, I will check that, and I will verify that, Thomas. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see. I think the next one is 380. Yes, this still remains out of compliance, so correction on that. And then I actually checked again. I thought I had another one for you guys, 476. But actually I checked, that window is still broken up top, so I needed to check that. And it could use some touch-up paint as well on the dormer here. I did check the chimney though, and it looked like it was okay. It looked like it wasn't leaning anymore, but I went and spoke with Matt Holt today, and he would let me know once the office manager, I think his name, I can't remember his name, but he'll be back in the office, so I'll give him a talk to as well. So
Okay.
and that kind of completes our round of projects that have been worked on or finished. So would you like to go through the remaining out of compliance?
Yeah, we do.
All right, sorry. These aren't as positive, so. All right, we'll go ahead and start with 160 Warren Street. Again, just if you can tell, there's still a missing vent or block at the foundation where my little cursor is pointed. There's kind of a big hole there. So that's a bit of a problem. Paint definitely needs to be updated. And there's that open crawl space that I was kind of appealing to. And again, around the porch, definitely some paint that needs to be updated as well. And for all of these, we've sent out, this is our second letter that we've sent out. We mailed that yesterday. And so I know Matt was talking about maybe doing some door-to-door work on those. I think it's going to take a little more pushing. So, all right. Next property here is 165 on Hardware.
Where is the property?
That's it back there. I had a hard time finding this because it's not really labeled, and it's as you can see, it's completely overgrown, and I barely saw the house back there. So
that looks more overgrown than previously.
I know.
It's amazing what Mother Nature does.
Little rain.
So I think that one kind of explains itself. So
yeah, this one's tricky. We met. Who did we meet with? The daughter of the previous owner. Is that who it was?
Yes.
I think
that's
she's
just
the granddaughter, wasn't she?
Yeah, Matt mentioned that they're still trying to settle it through an estate issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, this one is sort of challengingly beyond our ability to access in some ways. But boy, oh boy.
They were in discussions with their attorney. It had been up for, well, there was a lot of debate among the heirs. Some people wanted to actually buy it, and others were somewhat opposed. And so the gist of her argument was that the attorney hadn't been particularly helpful, but that it was felt that if they could get it, in better shape, that one of the heirs would buy it. That was the last we heard. I don't know if anything's happened since then.
Right.
Sadly,
As far as I know, there hasn't been any further communication with them.
What kind of communication should we have? Like, this is I'm just not sure what the letter is or what we should get a status update here.
Ordinarily, I would defer a little bit to Matt on this one because I mean, she was helpful and cooperative the last time that she came around. So,
yeah.
And it's as you guys just said, it's a messy situation on the other side of that. So I would think in this case, hopefully we could reach out in a friendly, informal manner and just kind of say, hey, what's going on? Has there been anything happening?
That sounds good.
I say that not having known if Matt has already tried that and been getting nowhere with it and just not mentioned that to me.
Right. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The questions for us sort of line up with, is it a hazard? You know,
Right.
is,
Right.
as is it a hazard? Is it going to collapse in on itself? I think the likelihood of that is pretty great.
That was what a lot of the discussion last time centered around, sort of structural hazard and nuisance hazard. That, yeah, potential risk of fire or wildlife nuisance and now some of that stuff strays into other ordinances in the town and not necessarily ARB purview, but if I mean, as we discussed last time, what are the options on something like this? One of them is that you guys recommend, and this is something that I don't think we've ever done, demolition of something in the historic district. But all of the stuff that we just talked about, those nuisances and hazards would be the kind of cause that town council would look at in making that decision.
And that's effectively what happened with that Warren Street property.
Yeah, it was getting very close to that.
Yeah, I mean, not dissimilar. So,
Does this house have any historic value?
What I think I remember her telling us was it was built in the 1920s, maybe a decade before. Not a huge amount of historical significance. I mean, a nice original construction house that you hate to lose. She said her grandfather did the standing seam roof himself, and that was probably the only thing holding the house up.
I remember her saying that.
right.
But she herself seemed to indicate, I believe as well, that it, aside from just kind of being the family plot, wasn't terrifically significant.
It was a modest kind of cottage, and it's really the fact that it's in the historic overlay district that it even falls within our purview, so it goes to the preserving the historic character of the town, but we also are supposed to factor in or recognize how it fits into, that whole sort of stretch of older farmhouses. There's, of course, the Confederate Cemetery. So it's in the district and it's posing a hazard. I mean, I think that's where we are. That's where we are. So I don't really know what prompts us to take a next step, which would be enforcing a fine, threatening court, threatening raising it. I think they were even in discussions about, well, maybe, if you bought it from us or you raised it, then we'd be able to sell the land.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that?
I think she was open to pretty much anything. But again, she was offering to be very flexible and cooperative on, any arrangement that sort of fixed the problem.
Right.
But everything was held up in the state. So yeah, I'll
this may need some legal intervention.
That's what I was just thinking. I'll make a note to have a talk with Matt as we debrief on all of this tomorrow about this house in particular, and see if maybe for next month Jim can provide us a little bit more nuanced overview of our options, and and maybe reach out to her again and see if we can get an update on where the family is.
Yeah, I think getting some input from Jim, some creative thinking and options is a good idea. And even if he could join us, that would be nice too, because it's always good to talk things out with him.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Great idea, Zach.
That's a good point. And I just wanted to ask on that. You guys kind of sparked me. Are we doing any sort of extension just because we're still kind of in the middle? I mean, hopefully this is the middle of this pandemic and we can get through this. But yeah, are we doing anything like that, like we did before, the deferments? I know it'll be an ongoing conversation. I just wanted to ask from Matt. So
I think that's what we need to determine. I think when we get to the end of this,
okay.
So look at what properties we have and then decide how we want to go forward with it.
Sure, absolutely.
Because at this point we had sort of suspended required work, right?
Yes.
So especially as we were under phase 1. So we'll come back to that at the end.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll move on to our next property, which is 301 Jackson Street. Again, if you can just take a note at the notes there, nothing has really been done. Not even really, but nothing has been done for this. Again, you still got a peeling paint, siding's missing, some wet spot rot on the clapboard. So kind of the state where that is as well. Again, this isn't necessarily an eyesore. It's kind of a little bit out of the way, but again, still in the historic district. So.
Hey, it is well within an entrance corridor.
Yep, absolutely, sir.
Yep.
All right, any questions? Okay. 358 is good. Okay. 380 East Main Street. We had a little bit of an issue with this last week, and we had the health inspector come out from Albemarle County. We had a concerned citizen file a complaint about there was a large trash pile that was behind the establishment here. That had been mostly removed. There is still a lot of, I don't want to say anything critical, but there was a lot of stuff back there. The trash had been taken out, but there's still a large pile of stuff. And as well, the foundation of the chimney is very questionable, especially the top of the chimney. There is loose bricks. The paint, as you can tell from the photo, definitely needs to have an update. And the porch could probably use just looking at, and I would definitely have somebody review it.
So let me understand. Someone lodged a complaint. A concerned citizen lodged a complaint with whom? The town or the health department?
Yes, with the health department.
With the health department. So the health department made a visit?
Yes, me and Matt were there when they came to visit. There was nothing that struck out to them as, quote, a health hazard. So I followed up with the concerned citizen, make sure that she had the gentleman's contact from the health department, which he was fine with, and let her know that we had followed that to the end of its course. So.
But help me understand what the follow-up was. Did they pursue some, did the owners do something, did you say, about the trash or not?
Yes, the trash pile that this concerned citizen had taken a picture of, that was gone. However, there was still a decent amount of debris that was there.
Okay.
That the health inspector said, quote, this is not necessarily trash.
Okay.
Or this is not even necessarily, this is not a health hazard. It is just
not a health hazard, right. So as far as their jurisdiction was concerned, they did their work and that was complete.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of it's not a health issue now. It's
just it's a junk issue. Yeah.
What's the town's purview in that way? And this is like not ARB stuff, but it is a historic property, so that's why we're looking at it.
Right.
But what is the town's purview when it comes to maintaining a lot?
Without the specific ordinance in front of me, I'm not going to be able to get too specific with you, but we do have a couple of different things that regulate pollution hazards, waste hazards, and sort of, I guess, animal hazards, things that would attract rodents and stuff. It's a pretty high bar to clear.
Okay.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not homeowner association stuff, but if Matt's taken a look at it, I'm sure he's aware, of all of that.
I mean, the debris.
But this is the first I'm hearing of it, so I haven't been in the office enough to know, the in and out of this one.
I mean, they've had stuff in that backyard for, years. So that's not necessarily anything new or different. The trash is, but that's been handled.
And as with most things, the recourse for it on our part is, either issue fines or pay to have it cleaned up ourselves and then try to fine them for the amount. Is usually something along those lines.
Okay. All right, so sort of status quo here, although they did take down the back addition, so that's good. That's something.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
All right. So this is Mr. Walters, and I took this directly from the letter that we sent to all the individuals. As well, I can send the ARB out a letter. Matt had like a draft piece that we used, and then we would send that out to each of the tenants, just so you guys can see it and take a look at it. I don't know if you guys have seen it before, but it'll normally highlight whatever the direct offenses are and explain, hey, we need you guys to take care of this. So, yeah, none of these issues had really been addressed. However, I just wasn't exactly sure. Like, I didn't see an open hole at the bottom of the window frame, but it could use a little bit of a touch up. So that's just kind of where that property is.
Okay.
Yep. Next. All right, 410 East Main. Exact same here. None of the issues have really been addressed, and there's some vegetation growth. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some ivy vines that are creeping here. Definitely does need a whole new round of paint. And that's definitely where that is as well. So.
Right. And I guess for this one, to get this from poor to fair, we need the seat along the top. The loose trim at the front gable needs to be sealed and fixed. Vegetation removed.
As I recall with this one, there wasn't anything as clear cut as when the envelope is compromised, it automatically becomes a failure. I think this got there more by the aggregate of a lot of little things. So it might be more of a gray area than we typically encounter in what pulls it from one category back up to the next.
We should figure that out. I think this would be a good time to talk about that, because they're going to want to know.
Not planting sunflowers doesn't solve the issue.
Okay, Tyler's not impressed by landscaping. Noted.
It covers the broken porch seat.
Hiding sins. Well, the vegetation going up the side of the house and creeping onto the front wouldn't seem to be too onerous a job to do, just for starters. The broken shutters that are hanging, again, just take them off. If you don't want to fix them or replace them, take them off. It is the cumulative. I don't disagree. The retaining wall is cracked. The paint job is needed. The ridge cap is really, pretty obvious. So while it's an overall state of deterioration that I think drove our rating of poor, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, when we looked at the house as compared to the year before.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think we just need to see movement on I don't know, it's when you're dealing with the aggregate, it's a bit more difficult, and that's where do we say, like, we need to see at least movement on 50% of the complaints or something like that.
Do we
I don't know, I'm just trying to
prioritize?
throw suggestions out there.
Do we prioritize, removal of vegetation, fixing the ridge cap, sort of put things higher than others? Or do we say if you do 50%, then you'll be within?
The poor rating is because there's a risk to the structural integrity of the building or it's unsealed. So we should pick the things that are either causing the building to be open to the elements or that pose a structural problem. So it sounds like vegetation poses a structural problem, because if that stuff grows, that deteriorates the building. I think it would be good for them to get a consultation on the retaining wall. Yeah. It may be fine, but we should know that it's fine, because that's a structural integrity issue.
Same with the ridge cap.
And then the ridge cap.
Right.
I think those three things.
Is there not a chimney? I know this image doesn't show. Isn't there a chimney on the
Yes,
east
Barbara, that's right.
side that has the vegetation growing up, and it looks compromised?
Hmm.
That's what I was
Chimney
just
on the
thinking
right
too.
side.
On the
Yep.
other side of that, there was a chimney issue, and I think maybe a soffit or fascia board issue on that side of the roof as well.
Okay. Well, let's.
I think
And
those
that-
pictures came in the original inventory that you guys did.
Well, does it? Okay. So, and if we get the vegetation off that side of the building, that'll reveal the chimney a little bit more too, and sort of help secure that some, at least prevent further deterioration, the immediate. And that's also not listed here as an issue.
It isn't.
So let's say,
No, it's not. I thought we identified that. Maybe I forgot to put it in the notes.
I can always add it too.
It's the second to last one in the issues, partial vegetation on the front gable.
was mentioned the chimney.
I'm speaking about the chimney, though. I thought that that's my recollection, and I drive by it all the time, but I can't say with any kind of certainty that is, an absolute.
Barbara, I do remember us talking about that too, though. That is, yeah.
I thought
I'll go
so.
back and look and see if I can find it in the minutes.
Yeah, I'll also add that to there regardless. So
All right. So it sounds like we've got four things. We want things that must be done is the vegetation removed, the ridge cap fixed, replaced,
The retaining wall assessed.
and the retaining wall we need information about. So I think they need to get a professional to look at the wall to tell us what kind of status it's in, good, bad, indifferent.
makes sense.
Okay.
Ready for the next property?
Yep.
460 East Main. Yeah, so the issues I put here is just under construction. I know he has brought the property up to the ARB, and I know he wants to get moving on that. So I'm not really sure where that sits exactly, Zach. But I was tracking that he did want to start developing that property at some point. So.
Yeah, and he's got plans, and it's sort of slow going. But I do think because even though it's quote unquote under construction, the building is still open, and so I think it would be good to see at least a temporary fix.
Okay.
While they're moving through this construction process, because I don't know when construction is going to start.
Yes.
In the meantime, they've got an open window, and I think some of the doors are a little cracked at the bottom. So I think it would be good to get at least temporary fixes to seal it up as they get into the construction phase.
Do we know what's holding them up now?
Honestly, Barbara, I don't know for certain. I'll ask Matt though. I'm not exactly sure on that front.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything either.
All right, because they're ostensibly still waiting to hear back from VDOT about their parking lot.
Yeah, I think Zach is spot on that. You're right. I remember we walked over there to see where the proposed parking areas would be. So.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so our next one should be. All right, this is 476. And again, this is the one that I thought was in compliance. However, I noticed today that it's an upper window here. There's still a hole in it. So I'll still work with, again, the building owner's name to make sure that he addresses those and we can get a timeline for fixing it. So.
Okay.
That as well. Okay, 488 East Main. Kind of the same, some of the similar issues with 410. As you can see here, there's definitely some vegetation on the porch. I don't know what the town standard is on that, but I don't think that is what you want. And I can't really tell if the porch is sagging or not just due to the excess vegetation, but that could be a problem. There's definitely some spots where paint could be improved.
Yeah, and on this, the structural thing is the sagging porch, the settling there, and the vegetation. Those are the immediate concerns.
Yep. And that makes sense. All right, next. 493. Definitely one of Matt's favorites. So again, a lot of broken boards, windows boarded up, fallen. There's a lot of loose bricks around. It's just, there's a lot of spaces as well that could be sealed around the edge of the roof here and the easements. The building needs some work. So, and I don't know what CSX uses it for, if it's like a storage shed or what it is for them, but could definitely use some touch up.
I know Matt has had conversation with CSX about this, and I think they are ready to do some improvements. I don't know what the timeline is, but they were amenable to at least fixing the exterior and putting paint on it. So again, things are sealed up.
Yeah, that's correct.
So
I think some of the debris has at least been picked up. I've noticed some activity to that extent. And it doesn't look as cluttered around the base of it as it did when we did the inventory. Do you think,
Yeah.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done cleanup related to on June. We filed an EPA complaint, and that got some attention.
Matt
Oh.
and Zach have been working hard to keep them in line down there.
It does actually. It looks more organized and clean down there than it has in
Yeah,
3 or 4
indeed,
years.
indeed.
Yeah, I think that environmental complaint kind of got some stuff going. So well done.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. 550. Again, a really gorgeous property, but again, a lot of that stuff needs to be improved. I was walking by the other day. Just it's a shame. The porch is pretty jacked up. Again, you got a lot of crumbling there. A lot of the steps are pretty broken. If somebody was trying to walk up those, it wouldn't be the easiest. And again, kind of that second floor balconies in the same spot. A lot of touch-up paint is needed. Pretty much standard story.
And I'm assuming with all the ones that are out of compliance, I'm assuming we also haven't heard anything from these folks either, correct?
No, we're everybody when I make the Excel sheet, it's the same on the Word doc. Everybody's been sent a second letter, haven't really gotten any follow-up. The only people who have been responsive have been Steve Meeks, Larry from 358, and then Walter Neighbors. So,
Okay. And is this one sold or is it still for sale?
It's still on the market. I was just going to say this is one of 2 of our poor condition out of compliant properties that are on the market. And I think they're taking different tacks to them. Mr. Neighbors seems to be fixing up the building as best he can to get it ready to sell. I think this one is more or less going to be sold as is, and we'll probably expect to see that COA from a new owner.
Okay.
Not to say that we won't give up on trying to get the most immediate problems addressed immediately, but that would be my hunch. And I believe that Matt has had some discussions with prospective buyers on that related to the zoning of it and that sort of thing. So I think there is some activity there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. 560 East Main. Again, this is kind of a similar thing to 165 Hardware. You've got a vacant lot. I couldn't really see any debris strewn about just because there's a lot of overgrowth. So I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, that's where that lot stands as well.
Yeah, and this one is also like there's no structure that we're really concerned about. So I don't know if this is actually like a poor rating as much as it's more of a town issue. Thomas?
Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, that was one that we've gone back and forth, and I think you're right. I think it's really at this point more of a town issue, in keeping with what we were talking about at the Hardware Street house. I forget the number of it, 185 or something like that.
165.
165, thank you, Alex. Yeah, that it probably, well, and this one even more so because there's no structure, falls more under that. How are things being maintained? I think we've been keeping an eye on it on the expectation that somebody will want to build something there, and we'll probably see that COA
Right.
whenever that happens.
Okay.
Okay. The last 2 are the ones we already reviewed. So that is
Right.
a list of current offenders.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation, the pictures, and the summaries here. For the ARB, what we need to decide before we break for the evening is how we want to proceed with these properties. When we first went under the declaration of local emergency, we suspended all required work, only taking on things that are voluntary, but agreed last time that people should at least be informed that their properties were rated for and that work needs to be done. So I'd like a consensus tonight about how we'd like to continue moving forward with these properties.
Well, the construction field is one that has not stopped during COVID. And so I see no reason to not enforce what we would typically enforce at this point. Especially because I assume a lot of people in construction either, have a ton of work or have very little work as a result. And so it seems like a good time to take advantage of it. Then again, if people aren't comfortable meeting with each other in person, that's another issue.
Well, as an example, I will just say the fellow that was going to be doing the work under the facade enhancement program for the museum made it clear that until just 2 weeks ago, his own position was one of not wanting to go into a building supply store. But that changed with the most recent sort of phase. And so he began and completed the work on the repair of the museum window that was one of the grantees. And, and he's a very cautious gentleman, but has done the work now and feels very comfortable doing it. And so did his associate. So I agree with Aaron. I think as an industry, it certainly hasn't shut down. Most of the folks that I know Lithic, that's working on the Unsworth house, they're so busy they can't get brick masons out to talk to us about issues we have. So there's a lot of work going on. I just feel that this many months in, since the inventory, it's time to put some teeth into what we've sent out by way of letters.
Great.
Thanks, Tyler. When was the second letter sent out?
Yesterday.
Cool. Did it have any language in it about it's like 90 days? They have 90 days to come to a COA or with the COA to the ARB before a fine is instituted. Did it have that language in it?
No, I would love to do this since I'm already doing an overhaul on a lot of this. I want to send you the letter, Zach, and then maybe you and me can work. You can just tell me what to do and I'll do it, but we could draft like a 30, 60, 90-day letter or something like that. Like if you're out of compliance for this long past this time period, you know what I'm saying, where it gets maybe a little more forceful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's it's in the ordinance.
It's in the ordinance. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep talking through my mute. Yeah, we have all of that language in the ordinance about what our timelines are for enforcement. And Alex, let's check with Matt, because I think we have a form of this letter already before you go reinventing the wheel.
Sure.
We've sent the angry letter out before, so I'm sure it's somewhere. We just need to dust it off.
That's great.
So at this point, since a letter was sent out yesterday, how much longer do we wait to send out angry letters?
Is September our angry letter time? Yeah, I don't.
Does it depend on, where in our timeline do we fall for this kind of thing?
Well, it's all been thrown a little bit up in the air by the halt on business. I believe ordinarily the timeline starts when the initial notification gets sent out, which would have been before all of this started. But then in March, when we halted enforcement on everything, it sort of broke that timeline. I don't know off the top of my head if the appropriate thing to do would be to sort of resume the timeline where we left off, or send out a new announcement that, you know, a new timeline was beginning. That's something I would want to defer to Matt too.
Yeah, and I feel like in a prior conversation with Matt, we even discussed until the state of emergency was lifted or something like that, we would not enforce action. Of course, we're still under a state of emergency, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it, you know, don't know the rules, but it probably would require some reference to phase something that, you know.
I think that was just a decision that was made within this body.
Okay.
So
So the letter probably makes sense then in terms of notification of the clock is going to start ticking again with new batteries.
okay, let me make a note of that. And Matt and I, when we do that debrief tomorrow, that might be another good question for Jim, just sort of how do we, you know, is there a rule on how we do this? Because we've sent out notification to people. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the state had some rules on how this kind of timeline plays out when you stop it. But we can update you guys on all of that by email. And then if we choose next month, if we choose to next month, we can, you know, do what you're saying, Tyler, and send out a letter that starts the timeline over again, or alerts people that the timeline is starting where we left off and what that time means.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because when did we send out the first letters? Did you say March?
Well, March was when the emergency declaration, March 13th, I think, was when we made the emergency declaration, an eternity ago. I want to say we did the letters in February.
Yeah, if you give me 1 second, I have one of the old ones that got returned. I can actually go get the postage on it. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that would be my guess, is that it was February, because we would have taken January's meeting to review the inventory, decide on our final list of poor condition houses, and then prepare the correspondence. So I guess if our meeting was in early January, it could have happened any time between January and February there, but.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense to consult with Jim, but you know, I think putting out a letter with some teeth in it is a good idea. That's how I feel.
So Valentine's Day, February 14th. There you go.
All right.
We're so sweet.
The gift.
We don't get the reputation we do for nothing, you know.
That's right.
You know, it's like we planned it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well then, yeah. So send around an email then with follow up and guidance about that, so we can start sort of leveraging a little more pressure on some of these properties.
Absolutely.
And then in September, it'll be good again to have follow-up. Any follow-up we can get with these folks be good to share out, even if it's just updating this slideshow for ease of presentation. And then what else do I have here? Well, we should also be looking for a 12-month check-in from Matt on existing COAs to see what we want to do about issuing new ones for ongoing work. We should have an Excel spreadsheet mock-up of the inventory, so that we can take a look at that to see if that's what we want to use. And another thing I was thinking, actually, Mr. Stolniker, while you're there, a column for writing in notes might actually also be helpful, because we walk around with a physical copy of this thing when we do the inventory. So it might be nice to include like note space for handwriting. I don't know what that looks like necessarily, but something to think about.
Sure, that's fine.
And then I think those are the big items. And then hopefully our very own Mr. Jim Bowling will join us. I certainly hope he can tune in to share some advice about the Hardware Street property in particular. and maybe even some commentary on how to communicate with poor properties going forward.
All right. Yeah, we'll see if we can get him in. It's always fun to have Jim in the room.
I never don't enjoy it.
Hey, one thing I know, we talked to a gentleman that came in. Sorry, do we have time for another agenda item?
Yeah, we have information still on the agenda there.
Are we there yet?
Yes, I believe we're there.
Gentleman who was potentially being secured for the landscape of Dollar General. I don't think anything
Yes.
ever happened to that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Every time I pass it, I wonder what's happening with that.
I was wondering if there's any way we could get back in touch with him to see if he ever secured a contract, or do we need to go back through the communication with Dollar General?
Yeah, I sure will. I know Ron had some communication with them recently, Mayor Smith, about trash in the parking lot that they attended to. They got cleaned up pretty quickly, but I have not heard anything from Matt about an update on that. So I will put it on the list to ask him about tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler.
I also have an item. I just feel like it would be helpful to know what the update or the status update on the people, the properties that got the grants for facade enhancement. And just in terms of concern about, the disbursement of the monies and the timeline. And I understand that with all of the changes due to COVID, everything's been sort of extended, but I don't want that to get away from us. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're already down to 5 months on the extension. So,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, we will keep reaching out to them and doing our best to make sure that as much of that can get done this year as possible. And I suppose at some point along the way, we'll start looking at what the feasibility is if we just, if people just cannot get the projects done on time or are unwilling to engage in the construction at this point. So yeah, I'll put that on the list as well.
What that looks like in terms of the monies,
Right, exactly. Do we redistribute it, or do we forfeit it back?
Right. Which would be a shame.
Well, it's not forfeiting, I guess. We're getting reimbursed from them once we paid the reimbursement to the contractors. We'll only take back in what we pay out, but
right. But it would be a loss to the town. I mean, if there are people,
absolutely.
If there are people who want to do work, or can, who have got money for it, that would be worth our consideration.
Right.
So, I have a question about that and a comment too. So SCAN is in a place where we can't afford to do it currently because we have not had any programming since March, and programs are 70% of our budget. So that gives you an idea of like where we are as an
I think that's probably not an uncommon story here in the circumstances among our grantees.
So I guess the question is, how do you move? Like, does SCAN just say, okay, never mind, we can't do it this year, so give the money to somebody who can, or
I think we need to know what the options are, Aaron.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know what the next step is beyond this extension. If there is a way to roll it into another fiscal year, then I think our preference would be to work with the grantees we've selected and try to keep this money available whenever they can come back for it. If the state doesn't allow that, then I think Barbara's right. The money should be redistributed as quickly as possible to get the it out there into the community.
Right.
But that would be a decision up to you guys that we should make once we have all of the information. So I will talk to Matt about that and see what he knows from the state already. And we'll see what we can find out about what we don't know and report back to you guys on that.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Thomas.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
And Aaron, if you'd like, I can ask Matt to reach out and give you an update on that sooner than next month's meeting so that SCAN can, have the information they need to move forward as well.
Great, that'd be helpful.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks.
Cool. One informational item from me, the town council got an email from a gentleman who's moving to town who is building a home, like a super efficient, sustainable home in the town of Scottsville. It's outside of the historic overlay district, apparently. But I told him he probably won't have to deal with us very much, but I still invited him to meet with us if he would like. So I'm kind of hoping he shows up just to be like, hey, everybody, check out this spaceship I'm building in Scottsville. And then we can talk about how that's, really neat.
Great.
So,
Interesting.
that sounds cool.
I would just like to say that I think the fact that Passerelle and the fact that the Unsworths came so prepared, it just really is a great feeling in terms of where we've come in the last 2 years. So kudos to all of you. Zach, I think the word's getting out. I just have felt this sort of conflicted feeling because some people were saying, just put it before the ARB. They'll say, no problem. It's a real easy pass. Others have said that the reputation was they're so rigid, they're so hard to understand. I think the process is better understood now. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Zach. The realtors are made more aware. So I just feel like we need to sort of, step back and say, wasn't tonight a breath of fresh air in terms of the process?
I agree.
Yeah.
Feel that way? I mean, given some of the other interactions that we've had to try to wrestle with, I felt good about tonight. I really did.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you, Barbara. And I think all of you, I really like the makeup of our board. I think you all provide some really good insights. You're all very attentive to what people are presenting, and they hear you. I mean, Passerelle is quoting you all. Wasn't that something? I thought that was pretty neat.
He said, I just didn't like it.
That's right. Erin Ruth said she hated the porch, so no porch.
Well, my feelings at the meeting when he presented his original ideas with it, he didn't like anything I had to say. So I thought it was really kind of interesting to hear how they arrived at their plan, which I think really does look very good. So anyway, so I just wanted to say that because I'm coming up on my second year now in terms of being on the board, and I am beginning to feel as though we're not only gelling, but that the word is getting out a little bit better, and people are beginning to understand that while we're serious about preserving the historic character of the town, which is our mission, that we're also not, so rigid that they have to feel like they're, walking on coals when they come to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's my little end of meeting throw in there.
Thank you for that. All right, we've got our action items for September. So I think we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that's a wrap.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. That was wonderful.
Hard work.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
We'll
Yeah,
leave it
Mr.
remote again
Stoliker,
next time.
thank you for all of your work and your presentation this evening. It really moved things along.
Fine.
That's great.
It's very fun. So thank you.
You're a natural, Alex.
Thank you.
Zach, are we going to be remote again next time?
We should be, yeah. I think as long as we are, I'm planning to keep things remote as long as we have a declaration of local emergency. I think that's
Sure.
sort of safe for everybody and keeps it consistent. So
Sounds good.
all right, y'all.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.